You can go right ahead.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for joining me for this day's workshop. A lot of you, it looks like you got the message that you know it's going to be fairly practical. Just a quick little tidbit on my background. I am, way back when, was a competitive gymnast, but I'm in my early 40s right now, and I retired at the ripe old age of 13 years old. I was a competitive gymnast from, I think, 5 until 13. And then my parents got sick of driving me back and forth to the gym. We lived in the country and the gym was quite far away. So I decided to retire and played a ton of sports all through high school, everything I could get my hands on. Ended up doing, when I went to university, doing varsity track and field, pole vault, and hurdles. And then got into, throughout that time, I was also a gymnastics coach. So I coached gymnastics, and once I went to university, transitioned over to more of the strength and conditioning field, did corporate fitness. And then in 1999, my husband and I opened Performance Institute together. I was dabbling in corporate fitness still at the time because we weren't sure if we could work together. But about 4 or 5 years later, I decided to go full bore into the strength and conditioning world. And so here we are, and I've been doing some contract work for Gymnastics BC, I think on and off for about 8 years. And I continue to learn and adapt and integrate my knowledge along with new knowledge that's coming out. And this presentation is a perfect example of that. I attended Dr. Z's session last week, and as well had gone to a session of his in January, and I think he's got a lot of great things. So I've taken some of his stuff and applied it to some of the things that we have traditionally been doing in strength and conditioning, and the types of things that we do for the gymnastics world. And while I really love his stuff, what I think all of us who, including myself, who create these wonderful manuals are guilty of, it's very, very hard to pare it down and make it usable for coaches in a practical sense. Just because we've got so many ideas, and gymnastics is probably, in my opinion, one of the hardest sports to condition for, because it is so broad, because the volume that we expect athletes to do is so high. It's really hard to help educate you guys as to what to do. So I'm hoping this is a very practical piece on how to take some of the information he did, some of the information that's out there currently. There's this is, like he said, I would concur, this is a great opportunity for your athletes, because they're not going to be so overtaxed volume-wise, to hit some of the areas that are typically forgotten in gymnastics. So the types of things that you'll see here today are to supplement your guys' expertise as gymnastics coaches. So you guys are still the ones who will be doing the conditioning elements, you know, to get more of the skill-specific stuff. But this type of stuff is going to help hit those end ranges of motion, like Dr. Z was talking about, but then also give your athletes the stability and the resilience to not get injured. And the other part of my presentation that you'll get to experience today is how to condition athletes for power and for anaerobic fitness. So today I'm going to take you through what's called a ramp, so that's range of motion, activation, movement prep, into power, and then we're going to do a little anaerobic series. Now, contrary to what I typically get to do with any athlete that I work with, or any client that I work with, we work with, I know what their weaknesses and limitations are. So I'm a little bit, I just want to be cautious, and I want everyone here to participate at the level that you feel comfortable doing, especially when we get into the power set and the anaerobic set. I will be challenging you to really work at a very high intensity. And if your conditioning level isn't quite there, what I would recommend is just participate, try some of the movements that we're doing, but really drop back the intensity. Or you can just watch that set, okay? The other thing that I'm attempting to do with this, because I know Gymnastics BC is recording this, is to make it practical enough such that if you liked this and you thought this is something that your athletes could use, the recording would be something that you could pass on to your athletes and maybe participate with them like I'm doing here over Zoom. Or if you feel comfortable, you could give them the recording and say, hey guys, I want you to do this, okay? Without further ado, I think that's my intro. We're gonna get started. So the very basic thing that we're gonna start with, I'll have everyone start with just an easy front back step as if you're jogging on the spot. Of course, the limitation that we have is that we all have to be in small spaces. The other thing that's a reality, and what I'm trying to do today, is that, and I'm going to get you to switch other leg lead, please, is that I'm doing this with zero equipment required. Moving forward, if you like this format, my thought was to, sorry, that's the life of living at home. We've got the kids homeschooling in the back as well. So we're going to just change that up to a little out-in jump. Easy out and jump. So this is just warm up. This is just getting the blood flowing. So when we start the movement, we'll be ready to go. Where was I going with that? Yes. Next week, if you like this format, what I would encourage you to do as well, we're going to go back to those front back steps. So it doesn't matter which lead foot you have. Just pick one lead foot, go forward and back. If you like this format, what I would encourage you to do is to either give Leanne feedback or in the chat say, I would like you to also do a presentation similar to this, but integrate foam rollers, active release tools, okay? And switch side. So in my ideal world, what we do today would also integrate some foam rolling, some rolling using softballs, but I didn't know what people have at home. I don't know if you guys have all sorts of tools like that. So throwing that out there, I'd love to do a similar format workout next week, out in jumps again, without, integrating a little bit of active release tools. So try to increase the range of motion there, get a little bit deeper, pushing the knees out. So this is just truly warm up. You could do whatever you want here. If you know your athletes and you want to do some more gymnastic specific movements, you absolutely could. I also don't know people's, what's the word I'm looking for? Ability to do different movement patterns. So I wanted everyone to feel really comfortable today and just to understand the concepts of what we're working through. Okay, and just easy marching, big backwards arm circles. About to get into more of the ramp and forwards. So no rocket science yet. Hopefully there won't be any rocket science, just stuff that people will be able to do on their own. Okay, so what I want you to do now is I want you to get into a push-up position. So starting our active range of motion, we're basically going to be doing a down dog here. So you've got your shoulders right over top of your hands, core is set, and you're going to push back into a down dog, dropping through the heels, pushing out the heels of your hands, and then I want you to lift one foot up into an active split. I'm doing this with a flexed foot, and the reason being is I want to get a good activation in my glutes. You can do a point, and then a flex, and then we'll come back, because it is gymnastic specific. Come back to neutral, core and nice and tight, and I want you to push back to the other side. So this time I want you to plant your left heel down, out of the heels of the hands, push back into a split. Your athletes, of course, would get much better range of motion than we all are, but that's okay. And go into a point, active flex, push the leg back, and repeat. Okay, so I want you to repeat on the other side. So again, push back, You're gonna drop through into the right heel, lift up into a good split position. I want you to go into a point, flex, try to squeeze the glute of that top leg, point again, and back down. And switch to the other side. Push back, down dog, through the heels, lift up, pushing into the split, point, flex, point, and come right back. Okay, so range of motion here. Hopefully you'll be able to see. I'm trying to get myself so I can see. What you're going to do, it's hard to see. You're going to be doing this with your foot on the ground. I'm going to lift up because you can't quite see with where I am in the camera here. I didn't think that went through. So what you want to do is bring your foot out far enough on the ground so you can just point the toe and touch the ground. Does that make sense? So you should feel like it's hard to actually point your toe into the ground. Does that make sense? So if I was up here a little bit higher, this is the ground. If I can extend my foot this far, but I can't quite reach the ground, I've got to pull the foot in a little bit more. So this is from Dr. Z. So it should be hard to reach the ground. Now what I want you to do very slowly, we're going to do range of motion with your ankle, rotating as hard as you can to reach the edges. Just 1 foot at a time, guys. 1 foot at a time. So here, reach to the edges. You're pushing to the edges, so it's really, really hard to touch the ground. So you see me lifting up. I don't want you guys lifting up. Let's see if we can see from here. So I'll switch to this side. So I position this foot, it's on the ground. That's where I can actively touch the ground. I'm working really hard in my calf here to touch the ground. Now, I want you to rotate all the way around as hard as you can, reaching the edges of the range that your ankle can do. Nice and slow. So we're going to rotate 4 rotations one side. So this should be hard. You're working hard to work that range as hard as you can. It's hard to touch the ground. Is this making sense? So this should be hard for you to do rotating your ankle. Good, I got some thumbs up. Now go the opposite direction. So imagine you're really, really working through the edges of how far you can rotate those ankles. Good. Okay, 1 more in that direction, and then switch. Excellent. Okay, switch ankles. So you're going to the other side. So again, you position that foot as far as you need to until you can only point the foot into the ground. That point of actively reaching the toe, pointing the toe should be challenging. And then you're drawing slow circles, pushing out as far as you possibly can. Your ankles should be working here. And when you internally rotate, it should be hard to rotate in. You're going to do 5 repetitions one way and 5 the other way. Really, really hard. Doing this with bare feet would be fantastic, but we're going to be doing some jumping. And if you're like me, you have not necessarily been spending time in bare feet jumping around on the ground. Maybe you have. And if you have, then you can do this. You could be doing this in bare feet. And making sure you've done 5 in each side. Really, really deep there. So if I was doing this with athletes, I would repeat the sequence again. So now I'm going to stretch out that area. We're going to go back into our down dog. I'll just go really quick and I'll reduce the repetitions here. So we're back into the down dog, core nice and tight. Push back, dropping into the heels, getting a good stretch in the calves. Push down through the right leg, lift the left leg up, hold, point, flex. Squeeze the glute of the top leg to really actively make that split. Come back to the other side. Back down into a good push-up position, core in tight. Switch sides. Dropping into that left calf or the left heel. Lift up. Good, squeezing the glute. You can go into a point. Flex. A lot of you guys are opening up your hips. Try to square up your hips. Just like you would be telling your athletes when they're in the splits, you don't want to totally cheat and open up the hips. Hopefully your legs are straighter than mine. I can see myself. I don't have the beautiful clean lines that I used to when I was younger. And then I would repeat and go back to the ankle circles. I'm only going to do one set through that today, so we've got time to hit everything. Now, just getting me back up, loosening up, and we're going to do just a little out-in hops again. Perfect. And into a dynamic glute stretch, so cross one leg over the other and into a glute. Everyone knows that one. Oh, Timber, I saw Tara falling over there. Other than that, you look perfect, Tara. Out in. Good. And dynamic glute stretch. Pushing back. Everyone make sure your knees not collapsing in. Knees in line with the hip. Switch side. Shoshana, are you having problems with your camera location there? I see your beautiful face, but was it falling over? That's I know that's the limitation of these types of things. Out in. Okay, balancing on one foot. Dynamic quad stretch. If you can, reach down to the ground. You're gonna do 5 repetitions, reaching down to the ground. Try to keep the hips nice and square. Knee in line with the hip. And switch the other side. With your athletes, of course, you're telling them to really drive that knee right up to the ceiling. We're under the assumption that all of the athletes are going to be a little bit more flexible than us. 2 more, core nice and tight. Ankles working overtime here. Good. And then just a little IT band, active, IT band stretch. Cross one leg over the other. And then I want you to lean towards the foot that's behind. So you kind of come over and try to touch the toe that's the behind foot, pushing your butt out. Stand back up, uncross your feet. Okay, cross over the other side. So the other foot crosses over, lean down, and you're reaching to the toe of the foot that's behind. Does everyone get that? And you're pushing your bum out to the side. So you're getting a dynamic stretch in the IT band. We'll increase the tempo of that just a little bit. So cross the foot over, cross the foot over the other side, sorry. And then lean down, reaching to the ground. Stand back up, switch. And leaning. You're kind of reaching over to the side. One more. Switch feet, cross over, lean to the back foot. And switch, last time, up and over, so dynamic IT band stretch. Okay, so into another little activation here. So we're doing, this is like a combination of activation, and we're getting into some of these next movements will be both activation and kind of that edge flexibility position. So this is for our glute stabilizers. I want everyone to get into a lateral plank. Core nice and tight, lift out of your shoulder, bridge the hips up. And I don't know if you can see me only because where the name is. So I'm gonna sneak over here where the name is Heather Ramsbottom, that's my husband. I don't know if you can see. So what I'm doing here is I'm lifting up into a star plank. Okay, so it's a bent knee plank. Some of you guys have your legs up here. Jen, bend your knee, there you go. Now, I want you to imagine, not too high guys, some of you are too high. Bring the knee down a little bit. Jen, bring your knee down just a little bit. Now I want you to draw a teeny tiny circle with that leg. 5 circles one way, 2, 3, 4, 5. Strong top arm, and then reverse. So reverse directions, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch directions again. So if you had an elastic, you could be doing this with an elastic, there's a variation. But again, I'm assuming nobody has equipment, so we're doing this equipment list. Okay, so you've got 3 sets of 5 rotations, teeny tiny rotations. Some of you guys, your rotations are too big. Smaller is better. And Lucy, I can't tell, are you lifted up? You want to be in that bridge. You want to be lifted up in the lower, yes, there you go, good. Good, strong top arm, and then switch to the other side. So that's a star plank. We're over on the other side. Lift, strong arms, set the shoulder, lift up, bridge up. You've got an imaginary wall back behind you, core in nice and tight. Lift the knee up, not too high. Some of you are up here. If you start to feel your hip flexor, drop it down. You should feel glute knees right here. Now, make those teeny tiny little circles. Smaller is better. 5 radial obliques. 3, 4, 5. Reverse direction. 1, 2, 3. Flex the foot. You get better glute med activation. And forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And switch. 1, 2, 3. Strong. Reset your shoulders. Last set. Here we go. 5 forward. 2, 3, 4, 5. And reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So hip stabilizer is so important in gymnastics for back health, lower back health. So now I'm going to take you into our frog series. So hopefully you guys can see me here. You're going to be going into, I've got my feet in a wide frog position. So unlike gymnastics, we have our feet right together. I want your feet as wide apart as your knees are. So flexibility, say as wide apart here as you want, as you can comfortably. And then I want you to go into 5 to 10. We'll do 10 push-ups here. And what I'm doing here is I'm just rocking back and forth, getting that nice range, back and forth. So you're really gonna have to listen to me on this one. The negative of, say, Zoom is that I'm probably quite little here. Leanne, am I spotlighted? So am I the biggest for these participants?
You're kind of on the left side of the screen, but I can see most of your movements. When you go forward, it cuts off your head.
Can you spotlight me so I become large for a second?
You are big on the screen as far as I can see, but I don't know how to zoom in on you.
Okay, so in the future, I think so, Leanne, sorry guys, just sit tight for a second. Leanne, let me try to coach you through. So if you click on me, there should be a little blue, if you go to the top right corner of that, there should be a little blue thing, a little blue button. Do you see that?
Sorry, I've got a couple of screens going right now. I'm gonna have to try and find this 1 second.
Sorry guys, just bear with me here.
Heather, I think everybody has to go on their own view and not do a gallery view, but do a speaker's view, and then you become the main part of the screen.
Okay, so if you know how to do that, I would recommend everyone just get up for just a second, just so you can see some of these movements coming up are really teeny tiny, and in a gallery view, they may get lost. So if you know Zoom and you can spotlight my video, that would be fantastic. If you don't worry, I'll give people 30 seconds to do that, and then we'll get back to the presentation, and I'll just use my coaching cues, things that hopefully I'm still good at in just verbalizing the teeny tiny movements that are gonna happen here. Okay, so if you guys are back in the frog position, what I want you to do here, we're holding that frog position, and I'm gonna exaggerate the movement here. So everybody's in that frog position, and what I want you to do for 2 to 3 seconds, think of 4 points. You've got your knee, you've got your heel, left heel, you've got your right heel, you've got your right knee. We're gonna start with the right knee. And what I want you to do is I want you to try to lift that right knee. You're first gonna tighten your core, and I want you to lift that right knee high enough off the ground so it's about 1 millimeter or 2 off the ground. And what you should feel, it's not gonna go anywhere, but you'll feel your glutes really working, and you'll get a little bit deeper into that stretch. You're gonna hold 1, 2, 3. Before you do all those movements, tighten your core. Now we're going to the left heel. So we're making a 4-point rotation. You might actually be able to lift your heel off just a little bit, not too high. Don't let your hips rotate. So you just brace your core, hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Relax. Right heel, lift, right heel up. 1 or 2 millimeters, 2, 3, 4. Those internal rotators might feel a little bit easier. Now these external rotators are impossible, but lift, right knee off the ground, set the core, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and release. Back around the circle to the left. Core tight, left knee off the ground. 1, 2, 3, and release. So some of you are actually lifting the whole knee off the ground. Think of it more like a rotation. So I'm not lifting the whole limb, it's just a rotation, okay? And it's coming from the hips. So you brace the core, but you don't actually lift up, okay? And lift the foot up, hold core. 1, 2, 3, 4, and release. Right foot, lift. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right knee, brace the core, hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more round through. Left knee, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Left knee, or sorry, left ankle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right ankle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right knee, left core. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then just rock back and forth in between there. So what that does is that works those teeny tiny stabilizers again around the hip joint. Some of you guys are getting sloppy in your frog push-up. Keep the core tight, please. 2 more of those. Okay, and then another set of hip stabilizers that often get forgotten. So all those first movements, you guys stay on the ground, all those first movements were designed to work all of the stabilizers around the hip, which often, because we do over splits and all those things that gymnasts work on to get that extreme flexibility, it kind of, unfortunately, wrenches out all those hip stabilizers. So we need to work on the stability. Glutes and hamstrings are another thing that are often left out. So as part of the activation, before all the hard stuff happens, we do our glute activation. So here, you're just going to do a basic hip bridge, but I want you to take your toes and slightly internally rotate them. That's just going to fire up your hands.
The sound just, oh, there we go.
So it is a hip bridge with toes slightly internally rotated. Just try to move where you can see me. I think you can see me a little bit better here. Not sure. We're going to bridge up and hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And lower down. Hands are going to go up to the sky, make it a little bit harder. Lift your toes up, bridge up. 1, 2. Pretend that you've got a balloon in between your knees. Don't kill the balloon, but you want to kind of squeeze it together. 3, 4, 5, and lower down. And back up again. Squeeze. 1, 2. Core tight. 3, 4. All I want you feeling is bum and hamstring here, and lower down. Hands up makes it a little bit harder. And lift up, squeeze. I see some of you still have your toes on the ground. Lift your toes up. Toes internally rotate just slightly. And then lower down. So even though my toes are internally rotated, my knees are still in line with my hips. So some of you guys have crushed your balloon. Don't crush your balloon. You still have, and lower and back up, you still have a balloon in line with your hips. Does that make sense? 3, 2, 1, lower down, squeeze, core tight. 1, actively try to contract your glutes. 3, 4, 5. We got 15 total. I think we're about 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back up again. Squeeze. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hips up as high as you can. 3 to go. 1, 2. Core tight. 3, 4, 5. And lower down and back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last one. And up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And relax. Okay. Standing up. Back lunge into a hip flexor. Just warming up. So we're about to do a little bit of hip flexor work and more glute need. So you're going to step into a back lunge, and I want you to reach that back arm up so you get a nice stretch in your back hip flexor. Step together. So what you should be feeling now, or what this is all about, is these both activation and a little bit into the flexibility. Now, because most of us, including myself, don't have the same flexibility in reality that you're gymnasts do, we're mostly feeling strength because as you'll see in this next one, it's going to be a standing, I'll get you to lift your leg up to the side in almost like a lateral split, which mine's not gonna look like a split. That's the goal, and your athletes should look like they're doing that, and they'll feel probably more of the flexibility versus us older crew are just working the stability that's required to hold those positions. Good, so we're just opening up the hips just a little bit here. And 2 more. So what I want you to make sure you do on these next ones is find a wall or a couch, something that you can stabilize against. So just so it's best in the camera angle, I'm going to use my stick. That way you can see me the best. But a wall, a fence, a couch, anything will work. You guys know this one. It's just a little bit improved or a little bit variation. So I'm going to lift our leg up to the side. Support leg is a little bit soft. Not super well. We'll go straight. I guess we'll try it with straight leg for now. Core tight, and I want you to bring that leg out to the side. If yours looks like it's a lateral split, good for you. Mine will not. And I want you to do 5 circles, 2, 3, core tight, 4, 5, and then backwards. Core is tight, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bring the foot down and repeat. So some of you are doing leaning tower of Pisa. I know if you were coaching your athletes, you would not let that go. And as you're doing this, what I want you to think about, this support leg, that bump on this side should be firing like crazy. And the other side, your core should be tight. 3, 4, 5, and down. And relax and try it again. Lift up into that split as high as you can. So we're working the strength to hold that dynamic flexibility. And then backwards, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do 1 more set on each. And again, of course, then we have to go to the other side. Up tall, set the core, shoulders back, lift. Wow, one of you in the back, Christopher, looks like he's doing this with no balance. Good for you, rock solid. I cannot do that. 3, 4, 5. And you'll see, do you guys remember last weekend, Dr. Z talked about fatigue? My leg started up here. By that last set, I was down here. Your athletes hopefully are better. Their goal is to maintain the height on their last rep that they did on their first rep. Core tight, shoulders back, leg out to the side, lateral, and 5 circles. 2, 3, 4, 5, and backwards. 2, 3, 4, 5, and back down. Again, think, this is where your support comes from. Right glute, clench like a rock, core nice and tight. A little bit of external rotation to help you on the bottom. Lift up, 1. Let's go backwards this time, just for fun, but mix it up. 4, 5, and forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down. And again, up, forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and backwards. Point your toes better than me. Do as I say, not as I do. Let's do 2 more on each leg. Lift. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and backwards. 2, 3, 4, 5, and down. 1 more. Ask yourself, are you feeling where you should? So definitely quads, hip flexions, but you do want your glutes working. Last one, here we go. Do you like how I stuck in a little bit of extra rest on that one? And backwards. Core tight. Poke yourself in the stomach, tummy, and relax. Okay, if I was working with my athletes, I'd give them a little bit of a recovery, some dynamic stretching, and then we do it again. Because we're not as fit as our athletes, I'm going to give us all a little bit of a break. We're just going to do our dynamic stretches, loosen stuff up. Now, for your athletes, they probably wouldn't need as much recovery as we are. I don't want anybody to get injured, so I'm just going to give us a little bit more of a recovery to get into the next segment. Grab some water, please. So we are about to get into our power segment. So with your athletes again, you could probably fairly quickly jump into the segment we're about to. I definitely don't want anyone injured. So I'm going to take a little bit of extra time here and do a little bit of dynamic stretching back and forth just to loosen stuff up. For those of us who are older, we're probably, our muscles aren't quite as resilient. So they might be clenching up a little bit. We want them nice and loose and limber before we go into a power segment. So even if I was working with athletes right now, I might integrate some quick rolling here would be fantastic. So if you're watching me and you have a foam roller, grab a foam roller, roll it your quads, your IT bands, your glutes, and I'm gonna go under the assumption that you don't have any equipment. So just follow me and I'll be just doing some dynamic movement and stretching here just to keep us all moving. So just a couple little hops back and forth. Take your time, guys. Those of you who have got a roller, this is where you should be doing some rolling. Would be a very, very good idea. And now we'll go into our dynamic glute stretch. And again, this is more just I'm wanting to make sure you guys get the concepts here, but I don't want to send anyone home injured on their Friday. So it's a little bit tricky when I'm trying to teach to people to bring back to super high level athletes, but also make it work for those who are actually participating. Good, okay. And then those of you who are on the foam roller, join me for this. And what we're gonna do now, this is the power set. So we're doing 8 sets of this. This first set does not count. We're actually doing 9 sets of this. And we'll use this next little part to warm you up a little bit further. So when I say give her and work hard, you'll be able to give me that intensity. So the first movement is gonna be front back hops. There and back is 1. So come and join me, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, relax. Lateral, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, good. Relax, shake it out. That'll be exercise number 1. But I was going at about 1/10 of the speed that I want you to do. It's only 5 reps, forward, back, side, side, but it's hammering it as hard and as fast as you possibly can. Then we go into 10 squats. So this little segment is called an EMOM, every minute on the minute, which means we're gonna be doing a short little burst of activity. Whatever time we have left in the minute is what our recovery is. You wanna teach athletes to, when you work hard, you're working hard. We're getting into that. The main part of this segment that is power is all those front, back, and those side hops. That's all our power is. And then we're doing kind of a little bit of loosening with the squats, 10 of those. And then we're throwing in something that is very, very important for gymnasts. So this will be active recovery in part of our minute. And this is protraction, retraction in a push-up position. So if you don't have a strong push-up, I'm going to recommend that you do this part from your knees as opposed to your toes. From your toes is a little bit harder. I'm going to come up to the camera and over to the camera and show you what, let's see if I can do this. Here we go. Okay, so it's hard to see. If I was really brave, I'd take off my top and show you. I don't remember what kind of sportswear I have, so I cannot do that. You're going to allow your shoulder blades to collapse together and then spread apart. Your shoulder blades collapse and then spread apart. So if it was just my shoulder blades, what they'd be doing is they come apart and then come back together. So when you are in your push-up position, you should be pushing out the heels of your hands and you should feel your shoulder blades spread apart. And then you just let them retract a little bit. They collapse together. You push up and then you relax. At no point should the shoulders be up by the ears, okay? So it's just a spread and collapse. This again is supposed to work the stabilizers around your shoulders, which are so, so important in gymnastics. All right, I better keep us going. I don't know if we'll get 8 sets in. We might only do 6 sets. I think we'll do 6 sets in the interest of time. So let me show you 1 set, and you can decide to join as this fast or just keep it at your own pace. When you do your 5 front back hops and your side hops, this is what you expect your athletes to look like, and this is how fast they should be going. So as quickly as you absolutely can, as hard as you can, front back 5, side 5, and then you're into your 10 squats, and then we've got those retractions. Whatever time you have to recover in a minute is what we're doing. Are you guys ready? I'm gonna set my trusty timer up. Oh, sorry guys. Okay, I'm gonna do it on here instead. Technical issues, problem with the timer. Okay, ready? Front back hops, as quick as we can. 5 front back, 5 side, go. Right into your 10 squats. You could make this movement more gymnastic specific if you wanted to. So you're going as quickly as you feel you can. And then we do our 10 little shoulder blade protractor push-ups. This first 3 sets probably won't feel that tough. And then all of a sudden, you start to feel what it's like to really push those 5 and 5. All right, we've got 30 seconds recovery. So again, as hard as you can in those front back and side hops. You can just kind of shake it out, relax. A lot of what happens when we're working power, we never give athletes enough rest. So it becomes endurance as opposed to power. 3, 2, 1, go. As hard as you can, core tight. Quick as you can, quick as you can. And into your squats. Looks kind of ridiculous, but this is what you do. And you can see why you almost have to do it with your athletes to see how hard they need to work. And then into our protractor pushes, 10 reps. Maybe now you start to feel your heart rate pumping a little bit. As opposed to your first set, you're probably going, what the heck? Our athletes are going to be finding this no problem. So 10 of these guys, hips are up. We got 20 seconds. I'm still here, guys. I'm just double checking here. My computer looks like it's draining here of power. I don't want to lose you guys. In 3, 2, 1, and front back hops. Quick as you can. Side. Squat. Okay, Lindsay, I see, or sorry, Leon, I see that a question's coming through. Can you read me the questions and I'll see if I can answer?
Yeah, one of them says, should the protractor push-ups be fast too?
No. Good question. No, that's part of your recovery, and that is just pure activation. So the only thing that you really need to do quite fast is the front back and side hops. Good. And just bear with me here. I'm going to yell up to my husband to see if he can figure out my computer here. Hey, Steve, can you see if you can figure out the power of my computer? Okay, guys, we're in 5, 4, 3, front back hops again, 2, 1, and go. Lateral. You want to be cueing your athletes on those to really set the core. My power's draining, and I've got it set up, but you know how it's kind of finicky? And it's not actually powering. 10 of these, I lost count, into our protractor pushes. 10 of these. So you could be throwing any kind of postural activation exercise in here. something that's not lower body to give the lower body a recovery. 10 of those. We got 15 seconds. 10 seconds. We'll mix it up this time. We'll go lateral first and then front back. 3, 2, 1. Quick as you can, core tight. Front back. Squats. Yeah, it's in. Thank you very much. And protractor pushes. Okay, so you get the idea. In the interest of time, we're only going to do, I think that was 6 sets. Normally I might program in 8 sets. For power, you're doing anywhere between 5, bare minimum 4, 5, and 8 sets. So today we're just doing 6 sets in the interest of time. So we would recover, and then we go at it again, another 3 more sets. Leanne, if I go 5 minutes over, is that going to be a problem?
Not a problem. We allocated for 90 minutes just in case.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. Do you guys want to do your full 6 sets, or should we keep going? You guys get the concept? I think we're okay. You could add in your other sets, because we want to get a full 4 sets of anaerobic conditioning. So that's power. You'll still get your heart rate up. So this next series, and what I'd be doing again in here is I'd be integrating some rolling. Maybe we'd be working our lats, our chest, areas that gymnasts absolutely need that very few of us do, okay? If your athletes are having trouble getting into that overhead position, it's probably partly because their lats and chest are tight. We need to be stretching those out and releasing those. Then we'll go into this anaerobic set. So this is going to be 30 seconds on, 30 seconds rest. Again, much of the stuff I see online, it's not that it's bad, but it's no rest. It's just go, 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 go. This 30 seconds, you must give everything you've got. You need to teach your athletes that. For you guys, if you haven't been training this way, give it everything you've got within reason, okay? Versus your athletes, you're asking them to lay everything out on this table for 30 seconds. Now, the first movement is something that I would choose for your athletes that doesn't take a lot of technical expertise, and it's just about developing that anaerobic system. So for your athletes, you might be able to do repeat tuck jumps. You might be able to do, say, 5 straddle jumps, 5 tuck jumps, 5 star jumps. I don't want to do that with you guys because I don't want to injure anyone. Having said that, for your athletes, I think for them to understand what it's like to be challenged anaerobically, I would, if I were you, just do exactly what we're going to do, because it's more about taxing the conditioning system and asking for 100% effort. And all we're going to do for you guys, and trust me, if you give me 100% effort for 30 seconds doing the following movement, you will be very, very tired. We're just going to take the movement we did at the very beginning, front back steps, right foot lead for our first set, but you're going to be looking like this. Okay, for a full 30 seconds, core in as tight as you can. That's exercise number 1. We get 30 seconds recovery. And then we're going to go into, I'm going to give you 2 levels here. Level 1, don't reach all the way to the ground. And you're going to do a reach to the ground, squeezing that back leg, drive back up. Reach and drive. Those of you who have the ability to do reach right to the ground and hop, I'm going to encourage you to do that. Then we're going to have 30 seconds recovery. We repeat on the other side. Either level 1, so either level 1 or with the jump. And then last but not least, we do bottom burpees. So we have 30-second recovery and then a bottom burpee. The idea of a bottom burpee here is we're going to work our postural stabilizers within the context of working anaerobically. So a bottom burpee, guys, Looks like this. Do it slow with me. Those of you who are going to get into a good frog position. You're working your stabilizers here, so bum is down, nobody here, okay? You gotta be here. You're gonna jump out into a good push-up position. Full push-up, right to the ground, come back up. You're gonna pop right back into that good squat position. So because of my flexibility, I'm cheating a little bit here, and I'm using that counter movement to get perfect position. Posture is most important. Then I'm gonna drive my arms back, feeling my stabilizers work, and I'm gonna do a sumo squat. My knees, don't let them collapse. I'm driving them back. Hands go back down. Push up. All the way down. Perfect squat position. Field goal. Think of field goal. Power up. Back down. Okay? You guys got that? I'm already tired. I did something similar like this yesterday. Okay, are we ready to actually feel what this is like? Normally, we go through 4 sets. Today we'll do 3, okay? 3 sets. Here we go. Starting with our front back steps, right foot, first step. 3, go. And go, as quick as you can. Full 30 seconds. Your feet are hardly lifting. Core is tight. Come on, push. Come on, guys, keep going. Push, push, push. I know it sounds long, doesn't it? 10 seconds. Don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. Push, 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 push. 3, 2, 1. And time. Resting. Totally recover. Okay. Left foot to start. You're going to be doing these guys here. Hopefully not losing your balance. We got 15 seconds. You should feel like you need that recovery. 10 seconds, we're up. 3, 2, and go. Begin. 30 seconds. Again, level 1 option here. Reach, drive. Reach, drive. If you can do the full movement, standing all the way up, in between, reach that foot right back. Stand all the way up. 3, 2, 1. Resting. We're gonna go all over to the other side. Good work, everyone. You may grab some water in between. Shake out your legs. So, if your athletes aren't challenged enough, get them to jump higher. Get them to reach their leg back further. We got 5 seconds recovery. Get supported on that good leg. Don't let the knee collapse in. Begin. Here we go. Reaching down, level 1 here. If any of your athletes have problems with their knees, you keep them in this position and make sure that their knees don't collapse in. If they're able, then you can add in the jump. But if their support leg is collapsing, you keep them in the lower level. Another big mistake that happens here is athletes only come up to this position. All the way up, 2 seconds, guys. Resting. Bottom burpees. So now we're into our burpees. 30 seconds. 20 seconds now. So remember, we're gonna be in that good frog position. Jump back. So this one, I do not want speed, I want form. Form should be perfect, please. 5 seconds. Everyone will get into their good squat, drive those knees back, and into your push-up. Good position, field goal, jump, back down. Field goal. Field goal. Drive those knees up. I see some of you guys, you've got sloppy arms. Arms straight, please, at the top. Field goal. Feel the stabilizers working there at the back. Resting. things you're watching for on that. Don't let the knees collapse in. Get the glutes working. All right, we got 15 seconds. Left foot lead this time. Try doing this when you're talking and cueing. It's really hard. Woo. Okay, 5 seconds. Quick steps, left foot. 3, and go. Don't hold back. There's no such thing as pacing yourself in anaerobic work. Ah! Mixing up my lead leg. Keep going, guys. Come on, push, 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 push. Oh, I lost some of you. Come on, guys. Work with me. 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. Resting. Good stuff, guys. This is round 2. We're only doing 3. And then we're just stretching and recovering. So you guys can do this. 10 seconds to go. Single leg hops or single leg reaches. Right foot to start this time, I think. Ready? 30 seconds. Begin. Your choice. Stand all the way up, nice and tall. Drive that knee. If I was making this gymnastics specific, they're going right into a split. Come on, guys. You got this. All the way up, nice and tall. Stand up in between each. Resting. Good job. Taya, beautiful feet. I'm very jealous. She's got perfect pointed toes. I do not. It's partly probably the reason why I told you I retired because my parents, but my toes, my coach always said, "Can't you point your toes? What's wrong with you?" So don't look at my toes for what you should and should not do. Left side, here we go. And go. Work hard, guys. Push. You will not have to do a workout today if you complete this with me. You won't have to go to the gym. Well, you can anyway, so there you go. All the way up. Come on, guys, push. Almost through. You want to have your athletes respect you, and they will more if you can do this stuff too. And time. Okay, what do we got next? You guys remember? Yes. 10 points for Sarah. Bottom burpee, she knows. Good stuff, Sarah. Key here, drive those arms back, core tight. When you're in that wide sumo stance, glute stabilizers to keep external rotation. Ooh, okay, here we go. 5 seconds, guys. 3, 2, 1, good position. Push up. Field goal, big jump. Athletes should be really jumping up high. Good position, no sloppiness through your posture. Field goal. Come on, guys. I have to see my timer to tell you how. We only have 3 seconds. Resting. Okay, one more round, guys. So, normally we would go 4 rounds, left foot lead and right foot lead. Today we're gonna go 3 rounds for our front back steps. 15 seconds leading right, switch. 15 seconds left. 5, 4, here we go, right foot. Begin. 15 seconds. To switch. Switch. Come on, guys. Push, push, push. Oh. Resting. Good for you again. Hardest part is over. So, I'll tell you in a sec. athletes should be breathing this hard at the end if they're pushing hard enough. They should just be able to do it faster than us, but they should be feeling everybody's fatigued. Single leg hops. Here we go, 30 seconds.
Begin.
Last round. Reach with the opposite hand. Laura, reach with your opposite hand. So if you're balancing on the left, reach, touch with the right. Yep, you got it. Jumping out of the screen there. Keep reaching actively with that leg. Woo. 5 seconds, guys.
Resting.
One more on the other side. 2 more sets of 30-second work, guys. So, important here, if you choose an exercise that's too technically challenging for the athletes, they will not crack into that anaerobic system. So don't make it too technical. Thus, those front back steps, it may not be gymnastics specific. Other leg, guys, right foot, sorry.
Begin.
Last 30 seconds. Stand up all the way. Don't cheat your stand. Drive that leg back. Really fire the glute and hamstring. Try to go down with a flat back, not rounding, as much as possible. Good job, guys. And time. Last set, bottom burpees. But as I was trying to say, if you choose something too technical, your athletes can't get that anaerobic system. But even the front back steps, it's about these little sets, it's about getting the right conditioning system, not necessarily doing gymnastic specific movements. Okay, bottom burpees, 30 seconds, here we go, last set. Field goal, drive those knees back. Straight arms on your field goal. Guys. Nice flat back in the bottom position. Last one here.
Resting.
And resting. Okay, grab some water. Where did my water go?
Pause.
Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Leanne here. And she can get some questions if people want to ask me. Give me a few seconds to get my breath back. I'll answer any questions as best I can. And at this point, again, more rolling and stretching. I'll do some stretches. You can do the same stretches I am, which I'm not going to cue too much because I'm going to be focusing on answering questions. But basically, at this point, you want to choose a combination of rolling and or stretching that are going to hit all your major muscle groups. Doing an equal amount of the anterior chain, the posterior chain, upper body, lower body, a bit of everything. Okay, go ahead and if you can, Leanne, fire away the questions. I'll try to answer as best I can. I'm just going to grab.
Perfect. So if you guys do have any questions, please just use the chat function on Zoom. I don't see any coming through at this moment. If you don't have any questions right now, you can always email them to coaching@gymbc.org and we'd be happy to answer them later. But if you do, just put them in the chat function now and we'll answer them right away. I'll just give you guys a minute.
Okay, thanks guys. So key concepts, I guess just to review, would be, I just did a little bit of a snippet at the beginning. Typically when I do my conditioning for athletes, we're not as comprehensive on the ramp, which was that beginning segment, but because I do wholeheartedly agree with what Dr. Z was saying, that extended ramp is a really good opportunity to integrate some of those working your ranges of motion at the edges. But what I focused on mostly, if you look at his manual, he's broken it down into exercises that are A, B, and C. C's are more your activations, which you do at the very beginning of a workout, which is what I did. If you choose his B's and C's, no, sorry, A's and B's, those were more designed for strength training. And if you were to do them at the very beginning of a workout like I did, you wouldn't be able to hit the power and anaerobic. So what I chose from his manual were his C's, his activations. So again, there's a lot of awesome knowledge in there. It's just about understanding how to apply it and where it would fit with yours. So I'm hoping you were able to see a little bit of a snippet on what I did. And I believe he's got a lot of great resources that will communicate maybe anything that I didn't communicate effectively in terms of what types of movements I was trying to get in there. The other key concept that I was trying to get into today was the focus of what it's truly like to train your athletes in this environment, meaning you don't have access to the gym, they're at home. How can you tax the power? How can you tax the anaerobic system? The one thing that I wanted to say, no problem, Tara, thank you for joining us. What I wanted to say about, the cool thing about the anaerobic system is if you train your anaerobic system, your aerobic system is also improved. Versus if you train your aerobic system, your anaerobic system is not improved. So you do have to have a base aerobic fitness in order to get into that anaerobic intensity. But if you have a limited amount of time, you're better off training anaerobically because you'll get the benefit. Plus, if you think about most typical gymnastics routines, they're all within that anaerobic time frame. Okay? The aerobic system doesn't mean don't do the aerobic system, but when you're working with athletes, it's way easier to give them aerobic work to do on their own. And you know, it's harder to screw up aerobic conditioning versus anaerobic. It's just harder. It's a lot of effort to get your athletes to push that hard. So if there's any way you can be creative in this environment that you're faced with to teach them how to get into that anaerobic state, it would probably really pay off. So hopefully that came across. Next week, my plan was to do another variation of this type of workout, just tweaking it a little bit to give you an idea so you really understand the template from which I was working with. So it will be similar, except I would love to integrate some rolling. So if those of you who are left, can you just give me your hands, like do a hands up if you would appreciate and you have and your athletes have just some basics at home. It can be a PVC pipe, it can be any ball, like an indoor softball is probably one of the best things. Do your athletes and do you guys have any sort of foam rolling active release tools? Yes, would that be valuable to show you? Some of you do not have. So what I'll try to do my best next week is I'll try to show that, but I'll give you, I'll say, okay, if you don't have this, do this exercise instead. And it will be something that we did this week so you could understand. If say we're rolling our calves, well then you're doing the down dog and the leg reach. So you're not totally clueless. It's still working the same fundamental body part. Make sense? Okay, awesome. Use a ball with a towel over it. Yeah. So if, in my opinion, if you do not have anything or your athletes don't, this is the best tool to have. It's an indoor softball. Okay, a softball with little dimples. This is probably the best active release tool to have. If your athletes have never used one before, it can be a little bit aggressive, but you use it over on a mat. So if you use this on a hard surface, it's more intense than if you use it on a soft mat. So hopefully your athletes might have a soft mat or something, and then you can drop down the intensity until they're ready for this. Okay, I tend to talk too much. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate you. I'm so thrilled that you guys participated. So many of you did. I totally appreciate it. If you have any feedback, please pass it on to Leanne. And I always have fun doing these. And my daughter is 5 years old. She just started competitive gymnastics this year. So, I mean, at least I can help her a little bit, but you guys are the ones who really do the technical stuff. So I'll be looking forward to getting her back in the gym as well. So I've got a vested interest in keeping the sport progressing. And thanks guys for doing this. It's so awesome to see so many people doing these because, you know, you guys are aware it makes a difference. So thank you, that's awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Heather, for leading our session today. We can't wait to work with you again next week on Friday. So for those of you who have not registered yet, the registration will be open until next Friday on our event page. If you have any questions, you can send them to me in an email. But yeah, any feedback our way, send it to coaching@gymdc.org. And we can't wait to see you guys next week for our part 2 of the No Gym, No Problem series with Heather. So thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.